So tonight we will show you what I have done in the past with great success and how it operates. Now, if I wanted something in this world, and who doesn't, I would formulate an act which would imply that I have it. And then in my imagination, I would simply, having performed that act, I would yield completely to this being within me to execute it. I would fall off into sleep, convinced that he heard me, that he saw my act in faith. I simply yield completely to him, having acted. It's an act of self-commission. I perform the act. What act? I act as though I had what I sought. I act as though I heard that you have what you asked of me. I perform an act, and then I yield completely to that depth of my own being, who is God, and allow him from that depth to externalize it for me. All I have to do is to completely yield to this being within me, for he has ways and means I, on this level of my being, know not of. I rise then under compulsion. And under this compulsion, I go through a series of events which will lead up to the fulfillment of that to which I yielded. I assume that it's done. And then I commune with myself and gave thanks within me that it is done. And it works in every way you want to be, and you name it. You want to be successful in the world of Caesar, in dollars and cents, nothing wrong with it. You want to be a successful doctor, successful lawyer, I don't care what it is. You want to be, well then formulate in your mind's eye what it would be like if it were true. How would you see the world if you were now the man that you would like to be? See it in your mind's eye, and then yield yourself completely to the depth of your own being. How do I do that? Simply fall asleep in the assumption. I dare to assume that I am the man that at the moment reason denies, and then fall asleep in that assumption, leaving it completely to the depth of my own being to externalize it in my world. I will wake tomorrow morning under compulsion to do certain things which I had not formulated, I hadn't determined. I'll find I'll meet the right people. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. And it all adds up towards the externalization of my assumption. So within you is that power, within you is that wisdom, to do anything that you desire in this world. So this is the faith of which I speak. How do I do it? You can sit right here. And you go to bed at night, as you're told in the 4th Psalm. Commune with your own self upon your bed and be silent. You don't commune with another, you commune with your own self. That's God. For the self of man is God. When you say I am, that's God. There is no other God. But you don't see him now. He has become invisible. The darkest night in the world was when God became invisible. He told the story to all of us before we set forth. Then he became invisible and took up his residence in us. He became invisible. And in us he is I am, my own wonderful human imagination. That's God. So I don't see my imagination as I see objects in space. For imagination is the reality that is causing these objects in space. So I see the fruits of its activity, but I do not see it because it is invisible. The day will come, I will see it. I have seen him. He has no beginning, no end. He is the Ancient of Days. But he's infinite love. There's nothing but love. Yet he will wait on us just as swiftly and as indifferently when the will in us is evil as when it is good. For it is he who does all things, that I kill, I make alive. I wound, I heal. I do all these things, and none can deliver out of my hand. So if the will in man is evil, he will execute it. If it is good, he will execute it, because there is no other creator. So it's entirely up to man what he imagines. What am I going to imagine? But remember, when I imagine, I must imagine and then completely yield. That is faith. You've been taught to believe you're a worm. You came out of a swamp. And then suddenly you became a tadpole. Then you became something else. And finally you find yourself a man. Forget it. You are the gods who came down from heaven and assumed the restriction, the limitation of man. This is the limit of contraction, and you assumed it. And you're going to fulfill a definite purpose in man. And while you walk the earth as man, that predetermined plan will erupt within you, and the whole thing will unfold within you, beginning with the resurrection. The resurrection did not take place in the Near East, in some little place where they're looking for it now. It takes place in man. Man is where God is buried. The Holy Sepulchre is the skull of man. It's not in the Near East. The Bethlehem that they're talking about is in the skull of man. Zion, his holy place where he dwells, that's the skull of man. And the whole drama unfolds within man. And man awakens within himself to find himself completely sealed within his skull. And he comes out like a child being born out of his own skull. And then, a few months later, comes an explosion in his skull, and that compartment that contained the Son of God, who was his will, who was his wisdom, releases the Son. You would not let my soul remain in hell, said he, in the 16th Psalm. So he brings him up, he resurrects his son, and the son is David. And David, looking at the Father, and the Father for the first time knows who he is. Memory returns. And the Father, the Son was the one who revealed him to himself. So the whole drama unfolds within man, and the whole thing is contained within the skull of man. Has nothing to do with anything on the outside. They're looking in vain, all the archaeologists, and they bring back all this nonsense. You are the Lord Jesus Christ. There is nothing outside of man. The whole drama takes place within man. It has nothing to do with anything outside. You're living in a world of shadows, and the drama is within. So let us now get back to this simple approach of faith. Do you know what you want, either for yourself or for another? Construct a scene which would imply the fulfillment of your dream. Just construct it. Enter into it just as though it were true. Feel what it would feel like if it were true. And give thanks to the one who is going to execute it. It's your own being, I grant you, but he is the depth of your own being. He is the Father. You haven't yet found him, but he is the Father. And you are now on the surface of your being. So fall asleep in the conviction that things are as you desire them to be, in confidence that he will execute it. I use the word he, it's yourself. But for clarity's sake, I say he, because you're not aware of him as yet. You will be one day. Everyone will be aware of that being. And because that being has one son, And that one Son is the Son of all. We are one. There's only one. There aren't millions of gods, only one God. But the one God is made up of a brotherhood. And we are the brothers, raising ourselves to the level of the one God. But I've been sent to tell you this, and tell you I will and must. If only a few hear it, what does it matter? You hear it with conviction. And because I tell you the truth, it will last. I am not here to set up some little ism. I am not here to speculate and try to set up some little philosophical setup that may work. No. I want no church, no ism. Just to tell you who you are. And you will tell it to others, and others will tell it, because in the end you're going to prove it to be true. You can't rub it out because it is true. All that I have told you is true. I'm not speculating. I'm not theorizing. I stood in the presence of the infinite being and his infinite love, and he embraced me. And he sent me after he embraced me. Therefore love embraced me. Therefore guided by love, we became one body. People are misled morning, noon, and night by so-called holy men. Forget it. Man comes to you telling you he's a holy person, turn around and start running. All these holy fellows, they just simply meet you and meet another crowd, and next thing they do, they run to the bank with what was in your pocket. Picked up one fellow here, he's flying off to Switzerland. He was in Spain after having collected a fortune. They found $300,000 on him. And he was at the Maharishi that came up through this country. It wasn't the Maharishi, it was his secretary running off to Switzerland, where you'd put it into your Swiss bank. And all the people fall for it morning, noon, and night. And so if you're taken over, you hate to hear it, because people hate to know that others know they were beguiled. And so those who gave their fortunes to him, $500 to teach them how to meditate, of all the nonsense in the world. Teach you how to meditate? It's just a simple, simple thing. You don't meditate on your navel. You don't meditate on any of these things whatsoever. You know what you want? What would the feeling be like if it were true? What would it be like? Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Well, anyone can do that. A child can do that. What would it be like if it were true? That's meditating. Now yield completely. And the being within you will take that and externalize it for you. Meditating on your Kundalini fire and all this nonsense. Has nothing to do with it. I'm going into so-called diets. Diets will not commit you or commend you to God. He gave you a palate, didn't he? Or then exercise the palate too. And so I'm going to go on a certain diet. A friend of mine went on the diet of things that you should only feed parrots. Well, she isn't a parrot. Eating pumpkin seeds and eating all these things. If you really enjoy them, but don't tell me that you really enjoy them. Because, of course, you could acquire a taste for anything. I don't say you can't. But exercise that God-given gift. It's a palate. And simply enjoy it. So, to come down to the night's message on faith. By faith, the worlds were created by the Word of God. Faith does not give reality to the unseen things. Faith is loyalty to unseen reality. For this thing exists. All things exist. I tell you from my own experience that the entire world that is unseen to the world exists now. It actually exists. Not out there beyond the stars, right here. It's all existing right here. And the day will come that you will actually awake and you'll be able to step into these unnumbered sections of time. 1,000 years ago has not passed away. And 2,000 years from now is not something that is going to suddenly form itself. It is now. And you are simply in a section of time. And the day will come you'll be able to move into any section of time. All these things exist now. And the purpose of it all is simply to awaken. And when you awaken, who are you? You are the author of it all. You are God. God the Creator. But to come back to our wonderful approach tonight, you want a better job? You want more money? You want this? You want that? Don't be ashamed of it. Who gave you the urge? The Father did. You have the desire. It came from the depths of your own being. So he can execute it. He only asks you to have faith. Faith in what? Faith in him. Have faith in God. All right. Where is he? He is my own wonderful human imagination. I cannot see the fulfillment now, but he will do it. Well, now, assume that I am already the man that I want to be, and yield completely to that assumption, and fall asleep. Just completely fall asleep and completely forget it. A lady who is here tonight, she called me up on the phone here just a few days ago, and asked something of me. I will not tell you, it's too personal. But she asked me to please care for a certain thing. It's so simple. I sat in my chair after I spoke to her on the phone and heard her tell me. But she came back tonight and told me that it has happened. She is here. She's seated here tonight. Drove all the way in from San Bernardino to tell me this story. And it simply worked. What did I do? Didn't cost me anything. Cost you nothing. What does it cost anyone to have faith in God? Why put a price on it? Why charge anyone? It costs nothing.
I trust that you will find tonight's message a very practical one. Because today, there are so many reading the paper and believing what they see and what they hear on radio and TV, with the depression and the recession and this, that, and the other. Now tonight, let me tell you who you are. We are told in Scripture, this is the 19th chapter, the 26th verse of Matthew. With God, all things are possible. Then we are told in the earliest gospel, the book of Mark, the 9th chapter, the 23rd verse. All things are possible to him who believes. Divine imagining has no restrictions placed upon it. Human imagining has one restriction placed upon it: to believe. All things are possible to him who believes. So they equate man, he's speaking of you, with God. But on this level, it is believing. Can you believe it? There is no other limitation other than man's capacity to believe what he has imagined. All things are possible to him who believes. So the only restriction placed upon man is his ability to believe what his reason, what his senses deny. That's all. No other restriction. Now I'll turn to the 115th Psalm. And here, I think the whole vast world has been guilty of this. The psalmist claims, our God is in the heavens. Their idols are made First of all, our God is in the heavens, and he does what he pleases. No matter what it is, he does what he pleases. Their idols are made with human hands of silver and gold. They have voices, but they speak not. Or rather, they have mouths, but they speak not. And eyes that do not see. They have ears that do not hear. And they have hands that do not feel. And feet that do not walk. And there is no sound from their throats. Those who make them are like them. And those who believe in them are like them. To believe in anything outside of yourself as the cause of the phenomena of life, you're believing in something made with the human hand. I don't care what you call it. Now, who is this God who does as he pleases? That is equated with man. Well, you try to think of anything other than your own wonderful human imagination. Our God is in the heavens, and we are told that heaven is within you in the 17th chapter of the book of Luke. That God is within you. If he is within me, what in me does anything that it pleases? Nothing but my imagination. I can imagine anything in the world. The most incredible thing I can imagine. But as man, one condition is imposed upon me. I must believe it. If I can persuade myself of the reality of that which I have imagined, no power in the world can stop it from coming to pass. Man creates his objective world out of imagination and faith. These are the substances out of which he actually projects and objectifies his world. There is nothing but God, and God is man's own wonderful human imagination. Man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. So divine imagining, yes, it's instantaneous, but when it's keyed low into the human form, then there is one condition imposed upon it. Can I believe it? So I now come to the point of faith. What is faith? Faith is the subjective appropriation of the objective hope. So I have a hope. I would like to be this, that, or the other in this world. Or I would like someone, a friend of mine, to be this, that, or the other. Now I must appropriate it subjectively. I go down in my imagination and I simply conceive a scene which would imply that it's true. And I appropriate it. How do I appropriate a scene? I create a scene which would imply that it is true. Bring in the individual or friends before me, and I can have friends tell me, have you heard the good news? And I will act as though I didn't know what is the good news. Have you heard the news about, and they mention my friend, and I listen eagerly to what they're telling me about my friend. I'm appropriating subjectively my objective hope. All I have to do then is to persist in that state. As Shakespeare said in his Antony and Cleopatra, it hath been taught us from the primal state that that which is was wished until it were. But he used the pronoun he. But you can use it of anything in this world. But he said that he which, wishing the being to come into being. But you can wish it for a home, a place, or anything in the world. You need not confine it to a friend. That he which is was wished until he were. You can make it or there or anything else in the world. It's simply from the very beginning The primal wish was simply to so give myself to a state that I lost myself in the state and I remain in that state until the state became objectified within my will. This is what the Bible is teaching everyone in this world.
Creating a better world through creative endeavors. With handcrafted, beautiful pieces of jewelry. Made from the highest quality materials, gorgeous stones, with 5-star ratings online and from museums.